We're about to hit 1 year on this channel, and Susie and I have been genuinely asking ourselves, is it worth it? Pardon my notes, I'm gonna run right through this unedited. But first I wanna talk about what this channel was supposed to be. Now, you already know our backstory. If you've watched any of our other videos, you could check out why we moved to France to get more details if you're curious, but I'm an American filmmaker. Susie is a Chinese CPA. We moved here and had our daughter Geneva, who was born in Paris. And for us, this is not a vacation. We're not retired. And this is not some gap year fantasy. This channel was meant to be about our real life, very specific and useful. We started it because we thought other people could benefit from some of the many things that we have learned along the way. And we thought it was a fun project for me and Susie to do together. That was the idea when we started the channel. But what changed? Well, a lot of things. For one, our work-life ecosystem took several hard left turns. My anchor film project, which is part of what really pointed us to Paris in the first place, got delayed again. I'm hoping that we get to make that before I hit the French retirement age, although I'll never retire as a filmmaker as long as I can, as long as someone can wheel me onto set and I can coherently say action and cut, I'll work until they plant me. But, nonetheless, it's taken a while. Susie got a full-time job, fortunately, because that's given us some degree of stability. But now I'm doing all the daycare duties solo during the week. I talked about this some in the previous video about French daycare. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the time with Jenny. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I know exactly how grateful I am, and I know I will look back and feel even more grateful that I had this time with my daughter in these formative years. I know it right now, but it has rooted me here, and by here I mean home or to and from daycare or the grocery store or the doctor's visits and things. And it has hurt or killed several bigger professional opportunities that I had or could pursue but wasn't able to. Adding to that is that we didn't get into a city daycare when we moved to this new city in a different suburb of Paris. And we talked about that in previous videos and last week. But we got instead into a crèche parentale, a parent-run daycare, where there is a professional staff, but the parents are the admin layer and do all this work behind the scenes. There are regular meetings and responsibilities, and everyone has a role and has often several big things that they have to deal with on a consistent basis. And there are also shifts where you go and help out, and I'm doing all of that for us, and I'm glad to do it. We love where she is, great families, great kid, the staff is wonderful, but it's basically a very involving part-time job with no pay that we actually pay for with our time, and it requires daily attention. So all that's context for this bigger shift, which is realizing what expat YouTube actually rewards. And quick sidebar, the words expatriate and immigrant have very specific meanings. We don't care what you call us. Being from the South, there's the saying, just don't call me late for dinner. And obviously I haven't been late to too many dinners, but nonetheless, expat YouTube is the way that most people think of this space. I add a ranty version of what I'm going to say. And when I sort of worked out my notes here, I realized, I'm going to continue to strive to be the better version of myself, and so I'll keep it that way. But what I'll say is, this doesn't apply to everyone in our overall space, but there is an entire content ecosystem that is built around avoidable drama. It's built around drama. From my point of view, a lot of it's very avoidable. And one of the common themes you see is that French bureaucracy is often presented as cruel and personally targeted to people, when really it's just an often opaque process if you come from someplace else and you're used to different standards and rhythms. And it rewards basic homework. And I see videos on some of the channels that I enjoy, but some of the videos of this type I'm referring to it amazes me that the comments are often full of sympathy, which, again, that's the right way I think we should act as humans from my point of view. But the algorithm loves this kind of content. And it drives me crazy because of the fact, that it's avoidable, not because France is easy and I have it all figured out, because it's not, and I don't, obviously, but because there's a difference between genuine difficulty, which we know a lot about ourselves, and self-inflicted wounds that are presented as cosmic injustice. And I've seen a few examples recently that drove me crazy, including one where the person would appreciate the idea of cosmic injustice. So I'm not going to name any names, and we'll just move on, because I imagine most of you who follow us also follow, like I do, that channel and probably really enjoy their videos, as I do too. But yeah, moving on. So what about us? What did we actually make this year? Well, from my point of view, a lot of useful stuff. We talked about visas, CAF, daycare, healthcare, moving, getting set up here in different ways, day-to-day real life, real parenting in France. But YouTube is cruel. Some of the videos that we made that took real effort got low to modest, results. Some took much less effort and connected a lot more, so I'm sure there's a lesson in there, but it's an ever-changing lesson. And also, Susie and I had planned originally to be roughly 50-50 on camera, but as I said, life made that impossible for us, and it shifted to being mostly me. And you apparently have a finite tolerance for just me, so no offense taken, understood. But also, Jenny brought enormous focus to the channel, besides just all this awesomeness and the complications to our life. And those enormous complications, it's a time factor, it's a mental bandwidth factor. Even if you maybe technically have time, do you have useful time? From our side, the effort has always been very real, but the amount of effort that we and I, as the one making the videos, have to do this at any given time, that varies. And lastly, I want to talk about the honest tension that I have as, who I am. So I am, believe it or not, really a professional filmmaker, but you've heard that said, and you might have seen my personal channel where I have some of my non-commercial, art films and things like that. But you wouldn't really necessarily know it from most of this channel. And that's by design. This channel was intended to be much more of a documentary style of a production. It's not meant as a showcase reel for my skills as an editor, which I have, believe it or not. You have to look at my other work maybe to see some of that in action. But I do want to say I see a lot of channels in this niche, including some of them, and in particular the one I was just thinking of that occasionally irritates me, that do genuinely impressive video work. I'm thoroughly impressed by a lot of what a lot of people put out in this space that we share. And I subscribe to their channels, I watch their videos, I learn things, and I like and comment if I feel so inclined, even if sometimes I do end up kind of hate watching occasionally. But we also have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Time is elastic, but it's not abstract. The hours in the day are finite. So you're not going to get my Christopher Nolan impression on this channel, and so it comes down to the question isn't, do we still enjoy doing this? The real question is, what does it take to actually do it right, and what does right even look like for this channel? So where do we land with this? Well, we're not done, not yet, at least. We have another big video coming up. The actual 1-year anniversary of this channel posting is in mid-June, and that's me and Susie. I'm putting a lot of effort into that. It's going to cover a lot of things. I'm working on it now, and I think you'll enjoy that, even if that's the last video that we ever put out. But we have some real changes coming in our lives. For one thing, Susie's mother, my mother-in-law, is moving in with us for the rest of her 1-year visa. The clock started ticking months ago. That's been delayed because of the water damage in the house. There's no guest room. She's sleeping on the couch in the living room with Jenny. Jenny has her bed in there for the time being. So her being here will be great in a lot of ways. It will help with Jenny, of course, and free up some time all around for us, and give Susie some breathing room when she is home. And it could genuinely change what's possible for me and Susie with this channel. If we have some time to really collaborate again, like we did back in the old days, less than a year ago, you could really see more Susie solo videos, although I'm still doing the production, some collaborative videos and things in between. But going forward, there's going to be even less of us chasing topics that we feel like we should cover them. We've already covered the basics, I think, pretty well. And there are a lot of other channels that do this amazingly well, and we refer out to them all the time in comments. But we're going to spend more time saying things and talking about things that we actually have learned or know or believe and care about. You know, this is real France. This is not postcard Paris that we're living in. We aim for this to be useful, personal, and honest, and no artificial drama. So to wrap this up, tell us, why did you come to this channel? Let us know in the comments. What do you like? What do you not like? What doesn't land for you? And what do you want more of, if anything? Is this worth everyone's time, yours and ours, for us to continue doing this? Tell us. Let us know what you think. And stay tuned. Like I said, in 2.5 weeks, Susie and I will be back with the big 1-year anniversary extravaganza of the launch of Chez Davis. And you'll get to meet my mother-in-law fresh off the plane, not speaking one word of French. So that's going to be its own adventure. And there's definitely a few videos in there. So I think we're going to be back. But, for now, I don't know. I've only got one more in me for sure. So thanks for watching. Give us at least one more shot. And, hope to hear from you below. I appreciate you watching, as always.